This is Joe Rankin, and you are listening to another chapter in the Journal of the Whills with Jackalmen Games.
Everything's under control. Situation normal.
What happened?
Had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now.
Hey, this is Kevin.
This is Ashton.
We are so glad to have Joe with us. He is a gentleman that I recruited from a Facebook post that I had recently in response to Rally Aid. I was trying to get a lot of just players from across the internet to come join us and tell us about their home shops and their home events and their personal experiences with Star Wars Destiny, and other card games. And I just was so glad that Joe got back to me and he wanted to be with us on this episode of our podcast. And so, Joe, how you doing, man?
Oh, pretty good. I mean, it has been an interesting couple of weeks for Star Wars Destiny. I think it all kicked off in my head with the iRebel Destiny article about the state of the galaxy concerns, and then it turned into this artificery canceled tournament deal, and then that turned into, the hashtag Rally Aid. And so I think through all of this, I mean, there's been calls of, game status and all those things. But to me, what all of this has highlighted is just what kind of online community Star Wars Destiny has and what kind of fan base we are who cares so much about this game that we want to make sure it's continuing and supported, and we just want more of it. And that's just been really cool to see that kind of outcry, because you don't really get that too much in today's world and stuff, that positivity. And that's what I love about that community, the positive nature.
Well, for FFG, I would think it would be exciting for them to see this. I know it's something that, may not be the most positive response for things, for what has happened, but at least they know people care, like you're saying. And they're like, man, we've created this game that people have become pretty passionate about. We need to, listen to what they're saying, and we need to find ways to make this better. So, I feel that this will be seen. I just don't know how they're going to react to it yet. And of course, this is a numbers game for them. This is a business, so they can't just immediately respond with what they feel is necessary. They're contemplating things. They're going to see things. So, what we have to do is like all the other content creators, I agree, or I believe they agree with, is that we need to just continue to do what we do and have fun doing it. And, reaching out to people like yourself, and, not so much the content creators, but actually reaching out to the players and find out what we can do for them and find out what they need and start there to build it strong.
To me, this just goes to show the different kind of game and community they have. I mean, they're used to, and I'm a first-time FFG person. I've never played anything before from them. Star Wars Destiny is the first thing. I come from a Magic the Gathering background. But I do think that some of this is that fundamental difference between a CCG, where it's a collectible card game, where you have a bit more of a rabid fan base and you want them to, you have a little bit of that competitive nature, versus the LCG model, which, maybe, I don't have any experience with that, but does seem to have a little bit more play, a little bit more, I don't know, lack of that edge to it. I don't know. But I do think that they're just trying to figure it out.
This is my first time in FFG. Like, I'm finding out how many games they've actually have, and it is such a widespread. So like, I get it. Like, I played Twilight Emporium the other day, and that game is crazy. And I haven't gotten to play Arkham. What is that? Arkham Asylum. And
that's a Batman game.
That's a what? No, it's not Oh, that is the Batman game. Oh my gosh, what is their
Arkham Horror?
Arkham Horror. Sorry.
There you go. Yeah, everyone makes that mistake, though.
Yeah. On that front, the Alliance catalog is, the official distributor of all things FFG now, and Asmodee. They only have available that you can look at online the Winter 2017 version for, like little peons like me who aren't store owners. But the Fantasy Flight game section starts on page 68. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still scrolling. Still scrolling. We are on page, I believe, 87, 84-ish. Yeah, 84. Now, no, that's for every product, in that magazine that they sell for the game currently. X-Wing's like 3 columns of stuff and everything. But I mean, imagine how much stuff they are trying to do. They're not just making Star Wars Destiny, and I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people to think about.
Oh, I agree. And even with like things like the Lord of the Rings, there's a large player base for Lord of the Rings, even. Not much that we see at our locals, but I have some friends that play it and love it. Then you have Arkham Horror, which is huge. Game of Thrones, which is another big one that a lot of people play. And Imperial Assault, obviously, and then X-Wing. So, there's a lot more, like you're saying, that's out there than just Star Wars Destiny. I think Star Wars Destiny is something that's taken off a lot larger than and a lot faster than what they expected. So, I think we'll get some love later.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are just looking for some drama.
Yeah, and there are 13,000 members as of April 23rd on the Facebook group for Star Wars Destiny. There's 13,000 people that potentially play this game at a casual or higher level.
That's awesome.
That's a lot of people.
And the game's like 2 years old. I mean,
yeah, no, it's not even 2 years old. It's
Yeah.
like a year and change.
Mm-hmm.
So, things are going to happen. So, let's try to make things happen at the local level. So, where are you from, Joe? Where do you play?
Yeah, I'm from Bettendorf, Iowa, which is not a huge town, but it's part of the Quad Cities. It's like one of those places where a bunch of small cities are together. And the store in my local meta that we have with the most participation is in this issue. It's about a 1.5 year old store as well. So it's kind of nice. He started the store in October. The game came out, in that December timeframe. So the store owner, Justin, he's a really big fan of Star Wars. His brother-in-law plays X-Wing. He's played X-Wing. He got into Star Wars Destiny, and he's been a huge promoter of the game ever since. And, we don't have as many tournaments as any of us would like, of course, but we do have an attempt at least for every week to have something, or every couple weeks, those kind of things. But that's the primary place that I play.
So in this issue in Iowa, so if you're around there and you want to play some Destiny, Joe's looking for some people to play with. So come on out.
Yep. And the other big store in our region, because you always hear people online talking about, oh, I had to drive to go to the tournament. And I've been one of these too. I went to one regional in Wisconsin, and it was a 3-hour drive. That was the closest one I could go to. Not a single regional in my state. And that wasn't uncommon when you read about that on Facebook and Star Wars Destiny's forums and stuff. And then you look at the international community, and that's 3 hours is a blessing, that's nothing for some of the people who are going to regionals. And GQs, I mean, the same thing, was 3 hours away. Didn't get a chance to go to one of those because of time frame, but some places, they don't even have that 3-hour window. And so, I think the local meta is where a lot of energy, I'm hoping, will be transferred to, because right now I think the game is doing great. In terms of numbers, you just said 13,000 people on the Facebook page in the membership group, but how does that translate to our local gaming stores? I mean, right now we have like 4 to 6 locally, and it was, store championship season last year, and I hope it will be again. It was, 15 to 20, maybe to 30 if we were really hoping. Now it's 4 to 6. Yeah. What can we do to reverse that trend?
You were sending me something on Facebook. I don't know if that's insider info. What were you? You were telling me about prize packets being $90 now for store owners.
I'm not really sure the confirmation on that, but one of the things that Rally Aid wanted to do, their third point on it was their second point, that they said is that they wanted to have better prize support, and that they compared it to the L59 treatment, which I don't play that game, so of course I was like, what does that even mean, the L59 treatment? And I looked it up on FFG's website, and it's more of a kit to say, like, here's a way of dealing things for a season, and here's winner of week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and here's what the top people get. And so it just looked like a bigger prize kit. It still had alt art cards and, like metal tokens and extended art, so it wasn't very different from what we've had. It's had play mats, and that's what the store championship kit had as well. But I think what they're doing, I think FFG already has this on the radar, already was planning this, because one thing we haven't heard about yet is the official announcement for the store championship kit for 2018. And it makes total sense that if they're going to have a May 1st announcement day to talk about something big that will excite and get people back into the game, that this would definitely be on the plate.
That is super exciting. Like, I just can't wait for Worlds to happen. I know everybody is in this. I use the word doldrums, just like this. There's no wind in our sails. We're just stuck in the middle of the ocean, waiting for Worlds to happen and this announcement to happen and, the Han Solo movie to come out. And, it's just like, we need some stuff to happen and we just have to wait and be patient. And in this era of the internet, a day is an eternity.
Well, and FFG didn't help out with that. I mean, once again, lots of things corporate-wise could be done, player-wise that could be done. And in the end, we're all part of the same community. If we want to see it continue and thrive, we all have to do our part. But when FFG announced, Way of the Force, here's your preview, here's Old Man Luke, and oh my God, he's awesome. Coming out quarter 3.
Mm-hmm. Quarter 3 is what for us unsavvy?
Well, it's like August. August would be like the earliest. I'm actually getting to go to Gen Con this year, wife approved, which is a pretty big deal. So very happy for that. And my personal hope is that unlike this last Gen Con, which I didn't get to go to, they didn't sell Empire. They didn't sell Empire at War at all because it was too early. I'm really hopeful that at Gen Con this year, they're like, hey, here's boxes of Ways of the Force. Boom. And then I can buy them right there and have a good time. But if that doesn't happen, it's fine. But that's my personal hope.
So I think that it's going to be released much sooner. Honestly, I think that
I hope so.
With this announcement, they're going to possibly give us maybe an actual date. One of the things that I'd like to see is a consistent time of when they're going to drop these new sets, similar to like Magic. That's where I come from. A lot of of background play and competitive play is that people in Destiny want to be competitive. It's like, and they can still be casual and competitive at the same time because there's so many different pairings and so many different build techs that you can do. So it's great for those casual players because they can still be competitive. And I think if we can anticipate when sets are going to be dropped, if they can get that ironed out and not be so random, if we can work on a better scoring, like I'd love to have something like what Wizard of the Coast did with the ranking system. What was it? The DPI or I can't think of the name of it now. Yeah. So basically if we had something like that, that would be great. They do have so there is something that iRebel put out. And it was with Twin Cities. I don't know if you guys saw that podcast. It's episode 28, Running Interference.
Yeah, I watched it. I was just thinking about it when you were going.
The Kessel Run ranking system is awesome. That is a great idea. It's something that they put together, Christopher did. And essentially what it is, and anyone who's listening, can always, comment or put things or even link it. We'll try to link it as well in this video of how it works. And also episode 28 with iRebel, Running Interference. So essentially what this is there's tiers that are set based off of tournament wins. So, based off of how many tournaments you win, it ranks you in these tiers. So once you've won like 5 tournaments, then it looks at your win ratio. So like out of all 5 tournaments, how many times did you lose versus how many times did you win? So like, let's say you play 30 tournaments. Well, once you won 5, now you jump to the next rank. See what I'm saying? So like if you played 6 tournaments and you only lost 1 and you won the other 5, then that increases your win ratio and it puts you in the next tier, but it also puts you in a whole other tier based off of your ratio. So like you're going up tiers based on your wins of tournaments, and then also based off of how many tournaments you played to win, it ranks you in a percentage there. And it puts you in this big, huge, vast criteria of wherever your local stores are. So you can do the individual leagues, or you can do like this Kessel Run ranking system, and you can actually put yourself against some of the top players in your area and, do great prize pools for that and entries for that. And, that's a really fun way of making it to where it's like, yeah, you do have to win a tournament, but you don't have to win, so many tournaments out of so many tournaments. Just have fun, take your time. You don't have to have the same deck every time. You can try different decks, and it just gives these people a bigger purpose of trying to win. And you could even do the ranking systems on a whole other Facebook page with a bunch of players. And there'd be one appointed person that takes all the data from these people. And, it all gets plugged in and verified by the person who's organizing the tournament at these different game stores. And you could do some cool like prize pool for it. So if you want to enter in, you pay $10 and there's this big prize pool for these top players. And I mean, you could always do fun things like that. But anyway, that is a great thing that people need to be more aware of, because there's a lot of people that don't even know that exists. And that is it's a great system. It really is. And I want to do something with our locals somehow with this in the future.
Well, and I know, coming from a speech and debate teacher / coach background, I always look at FFG and I say their biggest problem really is communication. I don't think we would be this vibrantly debating about, is the game dead or not dead online, even though I don't think anyone is saying it's really dead. But if they would just have the communication ability, and I don't even know if they have the manpower, looking at that catalog and how many games they do and how many different directions they're being pulled with who knows how many people at that workplace, that's above my pay grade. I don't want to say that they're doing something good or bad or anything. I just know that I've noted that the communication from them has been not what we would like. And, once again, not trying to put them in the major leagues. I know you're baseball fans, but not to put them in the major leagues with Wizards of the Coast. But man, have they got a supply run down pat, here. And I know that they just did that on iRebel podcast this last episode. He said, here are the next 9 product releases with dates that are set in stone and everything for a global release in all languages. I don't expect FFG to be there yet, right? Because they're brand new into the CCG thing. But it is hard to get people who are used to that, for better or worse. Like, I'm a Magic player. I know that, this last weekend was the pre-release for the latest Magic the Gathering set. And I was like, oh my goodness, I want to go to that. But I knew it was there, and I knew about it for the last 6 months or something. Those kind of things. But on the Star Wars Destiny front, one thing that another store somewhat locally does, it's called First Turn Games in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. They do what I like to call league with style. League play sometimes gets a little repetitive because, I've heard online and stuff about, I used to go to this league at my store, but eventually it just became these really good players beating up the not so good players, and then the not so good players saying, screw this, I'm going home because all I'm going to do is lose to the same people every week. They did league with style, meaning that they had a set amount of time for league. You signed up in the first week, you played through the 9-week league thing, but every week they would have different rules and different regulations. This last time through, they had little things like, I have a few examples, 3 different things. Like, one is you must have 2 and only 2 of the following droids: Chopper, R2-D2, BB-8, C-3PO, Probe Droid, Droid Commandos. No supports except for those droids. And then, an easy one, buy a pack, because it's still a store. They want to make sure that you're going back and doing through things. They also had this last league, the entire league, I think they called it Season 2 because it was the second time they were through. You couldn't use the same character combo ever during 7 of the 9 weeks. And the last one was... where's it at here? You had to have exactly 1 hero and 1 villain. They had to be different colors. They have different restrictions, and that kept the game fresh. It kept you playing different card combos than you would have. So it's kind of like getting the benefits of draft without having to buy the draft, every single week and those kind of things. So people with existing collections, you can use cards that you never would have thought of, like on your episode yesterday with Sugi. You never would have thought in a million years to use that yellow card from Awakening.
That card
to win
was,
the game.
Oh goodness, Lying in Wait. I've never even read, and then Sugi's like, no, this card's really good.
Here's the thing that we all got to remember, and you've already come to this conclusion, is that FFG made this Rivals draft set, which is insanely fun, and there's things that you can do with it that pulls in new players and makes things very even. So all they have to do is come up with a challenge, like, hey, once a month FFG is going to release a separate prize pool of things that they're going to give out, and it's going to be called whatever they want to title it. And for this theme of the month is you have to have a 3-character pairing, mono yellow, and you have to include 5 supports. And it's essentially what you're talking about with this whole with style tournament play. And it's the same thing, but they're doing it. They're controlling it. And then if they can develop some sort of like database ranking system, or even if they don't go to that extent like Magic, if they just put out something thematic or fun like that, it's going to make things a lot easier. And just, cheapen up some things as far as the 2-player sets. I agree with putting them at a 30-card base instead of a 20-card base. So that way they can just kind of jump in. And it's forcing to where, people aren't just getting beat up by the same people. And then obviously doing things with a Kessel Run, where you're playing characters based off of win ratios and percentages versus just playing against the same 6 or 10 or 12 people,
Well, and I think you nailed it on the head a little bit too. There is that right now, what First Turn Games is doing in my local, not my local, I'd still have to drive an hour to go to it, so it's not something I do regularly.
I've always
Oh,
had
yeah,
to drive
and
that
that's
far.
local for
Yeah.
a lot of folks. That's the saddest part of this, right? But the coolest thing is that this local store owner, and the person that organizes events, they came up with this idea and they ran with it. But how much more likely is it for stores around the country to do something like this if we don't say, hey, store owner who has 5 to 10, who knows how many games they're supporting and trying to have, like this tournament active play kind of stuff, how much harder is it for them to do and be creative and come up with this on a weekly basis and have it be different and all? Whereas if it was a prepackaged deal where they said, hey, here is Star Wars Destiny Season 1. Here you go, store owner. I mean, you make it a Pandemic Season 1, like the Legacy card game kind of stuff that they have, where you have different things that you do in the game and, just have it happen 1 week at a time. And you just open up the envelope. Okay, here's week 1 of our league. Here's week 2. I think that they could do that. It does take a lot of communication. It takes a lot of organization. And the hardest part that they seem to have a problem with is the shipping of all of these things. I mean, the Quarter 1 kits, or the Season 1 kits, I think they changed the name this year for the Star Wars Destiny prize kits. Quarter 1 arrived like this week for some stores, and it hasn't even arrived for some other stores. It's April, right? Quarter 1 was last month, and that was the end of last month.
But I'm just sure as the numbers grow and the voices keep saying and the shop owners keep bugging, like it's gonna get better. It really is.
Well, that's only if the shop owners keep going, because my in this issue store, he loves the game. I love the game. He knows he has a very devoted 4 to 6 group of people, and he knows that it has been bigger and it can expand. Those people didn't disappear, but there's 2 different factors there. One, why would he invest putting money into this activity when he can put it elsewhere? Because FFG is not in a vacuum. Not only are they competing against their 20 other pages of their own product, right? That was one company in a catalog from one, alliance distributor that's 400 pages long almost, right? Like, think of all of the competition they have. Why am I going to keep investing in this? Right now, my local area, and I've read online that this is true in a bunch of other places, the Dragon Ball Super is really taking off. The ICV2, their top 10 collectible games, fall 2017. It's Magic, it's Pokemon, it's Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's Marvel and DC HeroClix. Then it's Star Wars Destiny, D&D Fantasy Figures, Force of Will, Card Fight Vanguard, Dragon Ball Super, Dice Masters, right? Like, they're not alone. It's not in a void.
It's so cool that we're up there, though. That's cool. Like,
well, yeah, they were number 4 in the last one, and then it dropped, and I think it dropped because of the lack of product at all from January, because it's about 4 months behind, according to the store owner that talked to me about this, because I've always followed this kind of stuff for video games, just for funsies, but I've never looked at it in terms of collectible card games and stuff. But he said it's about 4 months behind, and so when you look at things, Star Wars Destiny, that they did drop a little bit because of the complete utter lack of product there for a while. But Dragon Ball Super, it was added barely ahead of time. It's gonna fly up the charts, is what he
I don't
predicted.
know. Maybe I should start playing that game instead, Ashton. Let's make some DBZ Super content, bro.
Oh God, there went the podcast. I just went it off. Yep.
Did you even watch that show, Ashton? Sorry, I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole. You watched that show?
Yeah.
Dude, all right, whatever. Star Wars Destiny.
Yeah, I watched Dragon Ball.
Let's go. Let's convert.
Well, Dragon Ball Z was right after school when I was getting out, so I saw it, and I gotta say, and I know I'm gonna, probably tick off some of your fan base here, so I'm sorry, but when I see a character called Goku, like, preparing a spirit ball for like 4 episodes while grunting in a way that made me think that he had digestive problems, and then letting it fly and seemingly having an explosion for another 2 episodes, and then having no visible change in the Earth or whatever, because I thought the Earth would be destroyed, after that.
So do you know where they got all the names of the characters from, Kevin?
Vegetables.
Somewhat. Foods.
Yeah.
You're close, but foods.
Oh, here, I'm gonna keep going down this rabbit hole. The other week in Orlando, there's a store called Super Saiyan where you can actually go, and it's a Dragon Ball Z themed ramen noodle shop. It's so good. Yeah, if you're ever in Orlando, seriously, go by. And you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, it's definitely should be on your stop. It's super good.
Well, Fort Lauderdale this June is as close as I'm getting for the National Speech and Debate Tournament. But I'm gonna hit up Cool Stuff.
Yeah.
Cool Stuff has some local stores down there, so I've always seen Cool Stuff Inc. and I was like, wait, I can go to a physical store? Sweet.
Let us know when you're down
So
that
I'm looking
area.
forward
We'll
to that.
meet up with you because we're not far from the Cool Stuff location.
No, he's in Lauderdale, bro. Lauderdale.
Oh, Fort Lauderdale. Oh, that one. Hey, that's okay. 3 hours ain't bad.
If you were going to a regional, I'd expect nothing less than 3 hours.
We had to
right?
go all
But,
the way
you
to
know, it's
Miami,
just-
which is 4.
Listen, that's three podcasts.
Ooh.
So like all we have to do is just not sit at our computers and just sit in a car, and there's really no difference.
Wait, what did we? Which Star Wars did we watch? Did we watch New Hope or did we watch Empire when we were driving down?
Both, I think.
Yeah.
Watching a movie while driving down. There's not a good thing to hear.
Oh no!
Yeah,
We had a
we're safe.
We had a gentleman, or a good friend of Ashton and I's. He was driving, and he was driving a minivan, so he has like the Be Quiet Kids TVs.
Dodge Caravan.
Yeah.
I got you. So for any law enforcement officers listening to the podcast, please note that they were in the back of the vehicle in a designated spot for watching video. They were not in the front driving.
See, we're carrying Joe everywhere with us. All we have to do is like, if we ever get in any trouble, just hey, talk to Joe.
He's our alibi. Yeah.
So essentially, what we need to do is make sure the game stays interesting. That's what I see for the new players. Do something thematically, set up more organized play, try to keep things, flavorful. And like you were saying as well, you don't really. And I've fallen to victim of this where I've told people before, hey, try it out. If you don't want to invest in the cards, get TTS. It costs you $20. Let me know what you think about it. We'll get on. We'll play. I'll show you the game. And and most people have Steam, I should say. Not everyone, but most people have Steam. They run the Steam sales. You get it for $10, $15 or $20. Okay. You try this game out and you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And if you love it, you're not going to just be able to just stay on TTS. You're going to have to get the card.
And I know that that's for me the danger. I personally have not bought TTS. I was very close in that drought period where there was no product and you could just see all of the content online. And I do 100% agree with the content creators online that the game survived the drought of 2018, Star Wars Destiny, January through, I don't even know, March. It survived that drought pretty much solely because TTS existed, because there was content on there. I mean, I didn't know what the heck I was doing in December when I got those starters. It was because I watched Team Covenant do their initial, intro deck build things. It was because Double Blank Gaming and Sir Christopher did their, I don't know, not podcast,
Right.
I guess, YouTube video channel. Tiny Grimes, etc. Like all of those people kept the game alive, and I'm still watching them, still listening to them. It's awesome. Jackalmen Games, of course, would not exist if it weren't for that tradition. But for me, I know the moment I buy TTS is the moment that my own desire to continue buying product for $90 a box starts to wane. And I go, wait a minute, I don't need to do that because there's only 4 people showing up at the store anyway, and 2 of them are me and my 11-year-old son.
Right.
Why don't I just go online and play with Jackalmen Games?
That's the thing, and I think you're exactly right with that, and it kind of helps me change, my mindset on TTS and competitive tournaments. Like I understand where they're coming from. Like, hey, we're gonna pull the plug on this competitive TTS season or tournament or regional, whatever you want to call it on TTS that they do, because it does exactly what you said. It makes it to where it's like, hey, I'm just going to play a lot on TTS. I don't have to worry about the cards. I can still win. I can still get my name out there. I can still get prize supports. I can still do all this stuff. But FFG doesn't really make anything off of it other than just, the name and the hype. But
well, and I know for my own position too, and I just say that for me because I know that Sir Christopher just talked about that in their latest or their 1-year anniversary episode, where he said, hey, I play this game online, I figure out what I want to build in the real world, and then once I know it works the way I think it should work, I'm going to go out and buy those cards. There are people that works totally for, so I'm just talking about myself. But as a high school teacher who has high school students, and I have a gaming club where I work with them, and I've introduced this game to some of them, and they go, do I play online for free because some of them don't have jobs, or they're just they're lower end jobs. They don't have a ton of money just to spend. Or do I just play it on TTS for free because I can't really afford that? I've gotten a few of them. They did buy the starters and they did get a few packs, but they don't have the income yet to go and buy 3 boxes a set and go dive in. I mean, they've done some draft and stuff, but they don't have as much, I don't know. I'm a high school teacher. I'm not going to say I have millions of dollars spare lying around, but you know what I mean? Like that luxury item kind of money.
So to drop $40 to $60 to be able to be in a competitive area with this game, that's a lot of money. $20, okay, someone can, work with that. You can wait a week or two, get $20, get involved, or $30 seems to be like, Magic the Gathering sweet spot, like 35, I think it is, to get like their entry level starter decks or whatever you want to call it. But, and then even Magic, I remember when I got into Magic, they were giving away for free the little like 20 card decks. They were pre-built. Do you remember that? And it came like a little cardboard box, looked like playing cards.
Yeah.
And they were just handing them out.
This literally happened today. Okay, so this is like hot off the presses in terms of my involvement. I've ran this Magic the Gathering gaming club thing for a couple of years. Okay, I looked up the thing for Dominaria and I saw someone commenting about, hey, Wizards of the Coast has a Magic club thing that you can sign up for. And I was like, no, they don't. I've been doing this for years. I've never heard this. I look it up. Sure enough, they do. Okay. Here's what I got this today in the mail. So this is not like, hey, theoretical. This is what I opened today from Wizards of the Coast. $0 down. I said who I was. I said where I taught. And I said I ran a gaming club. Okay. They sent me, those little decks you're talking about. I have a box of 20 of them in my classroom to hand out to students. I have a bag of 20 die, the 20 life count die that they give, to keep track of your life total. They sent 2 intro Planeswalker decks, which are normally, $15 to $20. They sent a deck builder's toolkit, which is another $20 product. They sent, it was supposed to have a land box, but mine didn't for some reason, which is just the basic land you need to play the deck. And then they sent a 2-player mat that I gotta say I've taught people Magic. I started playing Magic the Gathering back in 1997, so I know what I'm doing. But this mat, it has all of the turn phases on it, so you can just like move a counter across it if you want, or put a coin on it to say like, hey kid, this is upkeep, untap, upkeep, draw. It's a black mat with Magic symbols on it. I got a picture on my phone I can send your way if you wanted to put it.
Is it like a hard plastic top or is just all rubber or all fabric?
No, this is rubber. Yep, just roll it up just like a regular playmat. But I just got that today and it went through. It had, here's what we think you should do for a welcome or how to play Magic event. Here's what we think you should do with this. Here's a little stand for like, it's got a freaking flip board to show the different cards and parts if you wanted to go down that. Now, I'm not saying FFG should be there, right? Like, this is the 25th anniversary of Magic. Like their first couple of years, that was a freaking mess. Fallen Empires, craziness, like awful mess. Mm-hmm. But where they're at now is where we should be striving to be, as a FFG community kind of thing. Yeah. But they sent all of that. I didn't pay a dime.
And what I just linked here in our podcast as well for us is, they're talking about these special 30 card sample decks. They give them away. They're ready to play right away. Yep. You give one deck to someone, one deck to another person. There's the Planewalkers on them for all the colors, white, blue, green, black, red. And, you choose who you like. You can go through the cards if you choose, and you just play. And, if we were to do this, okay, so obviously we're not at this level, but what could we do as people that, want to build the game, content creators, people like yourself that's really knowledgeable in this game, and playing for a while, all we have to do is go to this lovely thing called Meetup. Go to Meetup, find these people that are playing tabletop games, and just show up with Destiny. Because the tabletop community is very welcoming. And, you can go there, you can have, even message them and just say, hey, I'm going to bring over Destiny if anyone's interested. And you're just there. If not, you get to meet with some local people and mingle. But that's where I've seen a lot of people get, a lot of people intrigued in this game is from Meetup, going to board games, whether it's like a night at a store or they meet at like a community building or something like that. You want to be careful, obviously. You don't want to just meet up with just crazy.
I've been trying to promote the game as best as I can. Myself and a few of these other local gamers who are pretty very hardcore for the game, really enjoy it. Like, I probably wouldn't be in it anywhere near as much if my 11-year-old son hadn't really gravitated toward it, had a great time. It's been a good bonding experience. And anytime you can get that with your, son, daughter, you're going to jump at it as a parent. But one thing that really helped me see Star Wars in that lens is that it's a multi-generational thing. And Magic has gotten to that point too, just because Magic's been around for 25 years. Star Wars doesn't have to wait that long because Star Wars, the movies, the books, the TV series, all of those things, like, we have that common bond. And I've seen my son playing as a 10-year-old at the time against, like 30, 40-year-old people and beating them. He doesn't roll blanks. He just rolls, fire every time. That's just what he does. His EPAL deck was amazing, by the way. But anywho, he really enjoys that. But what I've done locally here, and I think it's something that, can be replicated elsewhere, but it's once again trying to fill the void because there isn't that support, is at the local public library, they have a gaming club. And I was like, hey, can I come in and do a learn to play kind of Star Wars Destiny thing? And they said, sure, let's set it up. And if you've ever worked with a public library system, like, you have to set this up like months and months and months in advance because they have, different things going on. It's very active building. But what we did as a local gaming group is we kind of came together with some local stores too. Trade Mart, In This Issue, Games Plus One. Those are the gaming stores in the area. And we gathered up and we made 4 decks to give away, just to leave at the library and say, here, it's for you. And so a lot of that was the intro decks, or the starter decks, I guess is how they call them in Star Wars Destiny. But some of them were different decks, and we just modified, made some custom decks, got some sleeves donated by In This Issue and other things, left them at the library. We did a learn to play thing for an hour, talk about the game, played the game, then let them play the game. And then left them with that, as well as 2 starters as like prizes to give away at another event. And then we did the same thing at a Davenport Public Library, the city right next door. And the same kind of thing. We had a dad come in with 2 of his kids who were like 8 or 9 years old. And if you thought your first guest on your podcast, I always forget her name from iRebel.
Jedi Geek Girl.
Jedi Geek Girl. If you thought her knowledge of things was amazing, hear that coming from an 8-year-old's mouth, pointing at the characters on the cards and going, this is them from a Clone Wars episode. And you're like, yes, sir. You're just like bowing to his authority because he knows this crap, very, very well. But seeing that, and then to be able to do the same thing there, we made 4 more decks. We left them there. Hey, here are 2 prize packs. We're going to this thing, QC Game Fest, this Friday and Saturday, actually. It's in the Quad Cities. I sent the link for the Facebook post, but I'm going to be running another learn to play thing. We're going to do the same thing. Here's how to play. I'm going to try to have like 2 competitive decks, 2 like thematic decks, and then we're going to have 4 decks to give away. And we'll see how it goes. But we're always trying to build a community. But I think a lot of this comes back to what can FFG hopefully provide to make this a little bit easier? Because I think we're all willing. And I think anyone who's ever played the game, for the most part, to me, is you play it. And once you get, I do think it's a little bit, especially from a Magic background, you're like, okay, what are those helmets for? And the 1s and the 3s and wait, we got squares here. What are the squares? I do think it's a little bit higher of a learning curve, but once you're into it, you're like, dude, this is awesome.
Well, here's the thing. Here's a very simple thing they can do that everyone would appreciate. Please, FFG, if you ever listen to this podcast, make it to where the 1 token flips over to a 3 and the 3 flips over to the 1. Is it really that hard to just double side print a cardboard token?
But see, I've heard about that tournament play, though. People do some sketchy stuff, man. And I think that's why I've heard people not want that. I'm with you, but I'm also the person who played Magic for years, and I look at that little die that can roll easy. I'm like, no, screw that. I want that little credit card thing you did way back in the day where you can just turn a dial and have it say 20, 19, 18, etc. I don't want to die doing that.
They have those life counters now, don't they? That's new. Like, you can get foil life counters for Magic.
Oh, those are sweet.
They've been, I'm a collector at heart, so I have some of those from way back in the day, 4-7, possibly before you were born. I'm not sure. I'm not quite feeling the Mr. Chip angle here, but I am an old man here, 38.
I was born in 92, if that makes you feel any younger.
I was born in 79, so no, but
Wow.
I was born right before Magic started.
I was born in
Yes, I started playing that in '97. So, but yeah, I was a huge comic book collector during those days. That's what I was into.
I still remember going to over the summer we had recreation. It was basically just like a day camp at a local elementary school, and it was in the late 90s when I was going, and there was these two kids that would hog this bench and just play Magic underneath. It was like the only bench under the shade, and they would get there first and play Magic
Yep.
the whole time. And then Yu-Gi-Oh came out, and then we were all little dweebos with our Yu-Gi-Oh
Whoa,
cards.
whoa. We don't want to talk about that anime. Calm down. Calm down.
No. But that's where I got my start. Straight up was in a playground of an elementary school in the summers of my youth.
Yeah, to me, that was one of those times every Magic player, any player of games, you have those times where you stop playing. And I had that when I was student teaching. I had just stopped playing cold turkey. I can stop at any time. I really can. Hadn't played in a while, sold my collection. It was going to be what paid for our move to this, job I've been at for 13 years. And it did. But I was student teaching and I walked in and here are some kids playing Magic. And I looked down and I was like, I played that before you were born. Like that's the attitude I have, of course, because I'm an old man. And that was a really good bonding experience between myself and students.
Of course.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's still that. And, I go back and forth on my level of commitment to, games and stuff. I still play Magic a little bit, but Star Wars Destiny is definitely where I've been doing most of the, like tournament play kind of stuff lately. But in terms of things, it's just such a good bonding experience across generations. That they look at me and, they do see I'm literally twice as old as these people that I'm teaching, and that's kind of humbling. And they have twice as much hair as I do at this point, too. And that's just sadness. But in terms of things, it's something that we can bond over and talk about. And I love that about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got over 40 years of Star Wars that surrounds so many people. And it's just Star Wars and dice. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. And so many people can relate and enjoy it, and the chance factor, and just the characters and the story. And it's so cool when you see them print a card.
I've seen my rolls. I can go wrong with those rolls. Let me
all get those rolls.
My son, he can't. He can't. I mean, I don't. I think I have had the quad blank roll. I don't know. Like I think I've had that. I don't know.
I have rolled quad blanks one time.
It's a sad day.
One of the I like watching Facebook posts and videos of like kids watching Empire Strikes Back for the first time with their
oh yeah,
wait,
that's funny.
This is dad like that is so great, the reaction. And that the kids are into it, and then they go to school the next day and be like, I just watched this crazy movie where the bad guy was the good guy's dad the whole time. And
Yeah.
Well, isn't that based off Vader? Isn't that the German word for father or close to it? I don't remember the.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So
but nobody's sitting there thinking about that.
No, but I mean, if you were in Germany watching that for the first time, do you think everyone just sat there and went, well, duh?
Well, that's where they got his helmet from. His helmet was from old German soldier helmets. That's where the actual piece that they used for his helmet, like the actual bell shape, it was actually from the German soldier helmet.
See, they weren't surprised at all. They were just like, duh, we knew this the whole time.
It's like, yeah, of course.
They didn't release Star Wars in Germany for a while, so.
Well, they were even less surprised. I mean,
no, I was just making that up.
So how long have you been playing this game? You got it from the beginning, right?
Oh, yeah, I started Star Wars Destiny in December, and it was an interesting. We had a gift exchange. It was in the public school system, so I don't want to call it a Christmas gift exchange. In case lawyers are afoot. But we had a winter gift exchange, and this coworker of mine who's a huge gamer. She knows I'm a huge gamer. Back and forth. She's more into board games. I'm more into Magic and those kind of things. She thought it'd be a good idea. Hey, let's buy this Magic the Gathering player, a known CCG player, a different CCG. And if you know the personality type of a person who plays a CCG, that's the worst thing you can do to a human being.
Right.
Give them another potential addiction. It's just like, hey, crack addict, would you like to try some meth? It's really good too. I don't know. Like it wasn't a good fit because I knew if I played the game and I enjoyed the game that I would have even more reason for my wife to look at me with disdain when she talked about how much money I spent that we didn't have. You know, typical marriage stuff there. But I played it, and my friend of mine who is a big gamer too, we played that game, and of course we didn't know what the heck we were doing, right? Like the typical, you read the rule book, you're like, okay, the rule book's only one page. This should be easy. I've played lots of games. And you just screw up everything, of course, you know.
Right.
We thought you could have infinite shields. Why would you only get 3 shields, right? So we had, he's playing the Kylo build, and I'm playing, the starter with Rey. And he's like, well, Kylo just had his 15th shield. I'm like, oh yeah, well, I swing and hit for 2.
Yeah, well, me and Kevin were like refocusing everyone else's die with the focus.
Yeah, oh, I did that. Well, that was a understandable mistake because the rule card in the thing just says focus, change any die to a side.
Yeah.
In the actual, like 2-page, thing, it said like, oh no, only your die. I had that happen at the tournament. I tried to focus the lethal damage Django was going to do to Han because I had a Han Rey deck at the time. I tried to, I'm going to change your die. And he's like, no, you're not. Like, oh yeah? No, of course he was in the right, of course, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But in the beginning, that's how it started. My son and I went to a few tournaments, those kind of things. And then what really got me on the game was, liking it, of course. But the other thing you do to a CCG player to really get them in the game is to make it very hard to find. And so I don't know if you were in the game in January, February. I don't know if you played during that time.
So I came in right where Spirit was.
Okay, so you're way after.
Like right at the end.
That's like 40 years, right? That's 40 years.
Yeah.
In January, February, in December, I went to my local gaming store and I said, hey, there's some Star Wars Awakening. You know what? I'm going to buy 3 packs. And then I walked out of the store. No big deal. And I got like a Han Solo, and I'm like, oh my God, Han Solo. He is the best card I've ever seen in my life, right? Because he's iconic. He, all those things. Ambush. Wait, he gets a shield for ambush. And at that time, of course, I thought you could have 7,000 shields. So I was like, that's even more better, more amazing. But then the thing that happened that got me is I went to the gaming store and I was like, okay, I'd like to buy some more packs. And they go, we don't have any. And then that twitching of your hand started where you're like, hold on, What do you mean you don't have any? Oh, they're gone. What do you mean they're gone? They're gone in America. No. Don't go that far, right?
Yeah, I know.
Well, of course, the super stalker mode kicked in because you can't just, now I really want it, right? Now I have to have it. So, of course, my friend who lives in, and I travel a bit for speech and debate as a coach and a team. So I would be in Iowa City, which is about an hour away, and I would check the 3 stores in that area. Oh, we have some singles, but we don't have anything else. Okay.
Yeah, and all the singles that they have are just usually terrible.
Yeah, well, at the time, Django Veers was the deck of choice, and they had a Django for like $6, and I'm like, oh, that's a really good deal. I don't even know, right? Because there's no market
right
at the time. But the thing that put me over the top, and I think that did get me into the game, is there was a tournament coming up, and I had my friend who's in speech debate. He was going to this tournament in Nebraska. And, just for your reference, I am 6 hours away from this town in Nebraska. Okay. He's going to that town. I'm like, hey, you know what a good friend would do? They would check every gaming store in that town for me. And so I actually went that I was like, hey, could you maybe check this store to see if they have, and he walked into the store. They had 1 box of Awakening still on their shelf.
Ooh, nice.
And he walks up, he's like, hey, how much is it? They're like, oh, $90. He's like, okay, can you hold it for me? I want to look around the store. While he's going around, looking around the store, someone walks in and goes, hey, that box of Awakening, can I buy it? Oh no, we just sold it. He's like, I'll pay double.
Wow.
And the store owner goes, no, we just sold it. We have to honor our customers. So kudos to that store, right? Them. But that's the hype level. If for those of you who weren't around during that time period, like that was the hype level of the game because it was a really cool game. It still is, duh. It was really enjoyable to play, but you could not find it for the life of you. And so for those collectible card game people who get that bug, that urge to buy everything, that was hard times.
I'm glad to just see them starting to sell packs in like Barnes and Nobles. That was caught me by surprise.
It's interesting though. Like they've had a pretty good relationship with FFG for a while. And because if you walk into Barnes and Noble, they have X-Wing, they have other things.
Yeah.
But they haven't had a single thing since Empire.
Yes, I understand that. For some reason, it's like after Empire. Well, hold on. They had Awakening, Empire. The one that I had did have some Spirit though.
Yeah,
It
mine
didn't
did
have
too.
some speed. And then but then after Empire, that was it. That was where they.
Yeah.
You're right. That's where they stopped. And
And if
for
you
whatever
look on their
reason-
website, they have nothing on there. No legacies, starters, no nothing.
yeah, weird.
I've talked to some of them there in terms of their internal system to try to find it, and they have nothing. And for your co-host there as an educator, you do get a Barnes and Noble educator discount. And so I did get some packs that were harder to find at the time for a little cheaper.
That is actually severely
that-
sneaky.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Now, granted, I was using it in terms of, in classroom for the game club stuff too.
Which Kevin does do. So yeah, you could definitely do that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude.
If they have the packs left. And I still check Walmart and I still check Target like every time I go there, even though I know they don't have it. It's just like one day I'm hoping to actually have them there because it's like.
Well, and the reason we think that is because of Force Friday.
Right.
That 2-player kit set, surprise announcement. Hey, it's going to be sold at Target, GameStop, and at your local gaming store, but we won't tell them what that is.
Yep.
And it was an amazing product. I mean, it still is. I mean, it's so amazing that they've had to change the point values on things. And
If you could find them in Target now, they're actually like 15% off.
depends on your store. If you use brickseed.com, you can look at the clearance, but one of the stores I traveled to had it at $15.
Ooh.
And they had a sale one week where you could buy one, get one free, and it counted clearance items. So you could get 2 of them for $22.50.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oh, it was. I mean, I only got one extra, and I'm going to use it during the QC Game Fest as part of a demo. Like, hey, because that still is the number one thing that you point to, and that's that whole better starter product thing. Like the closest thing we've had to perfection for the starter product is that 2-player kit. And the thing I said on the Fantasy Flight Games forum is I said, Magic already has this system. We could have a 30-card deck and, maybe even package it with a box like they had at the store championship, the Captain Phasma little deck boxes. Those things are amazing. I love it. We could put the deck in there with the dice and then put 2 booster packs inside, call it $20-$25. Like you said, that's the sweet spot, that 25. And if you put that in big retail stores like Target, like Walmart, you don't have to put the booster packs. I mean, you can have an insert in there that says, if you want more, go to your local gaming store. But I think that would be, it's hard to say if they're ready for that or not. Because if you put it in Target, you have to have enough to fill every Target to some degree. Because if you notice the Barnes & Noble example that you mentioned, if they had packs, they got 1 booster box.
Yep, that's it.
And it sat there till it was empty.
Yep, that's what happened with me. So as soon as the boxes were done, which I bought maybe 10 packs from them because my brother started playing, my little brother, 9 and 10. So they started playing and they love it. And I bought a few packs for them when I was out there. And I just noticed that that was the only box that was there, and it just kept depleting. And I'm like, am I the only person buying packs in this box? And then that was it. After they were all gone, and the answer was yes. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. No, we had the same thing here. And we have a Barnes & Noble here and a Barnes & Noble an hour away, and I go there quite a bit. That Barnes & Noble never even got the first box. It's a slightly smaller one. It's part of a bigger mall, which is kind of funny. It's a smaller Barnes & Noble. Anyway, they never even got the first box, but our local one, they did get the box, and it sold slowly. That's where I got my second Palpatine from Spirit of Rebellion. I bought, 6 packs. Oh, no legendary. I'm like, the hell with that.
Right.
I'm buying until I get that. That was the attitude at the time. And I pulled the second Palpatine, and then my son was, very, very joyous because he could be the Emperor. He always knew he could.
So right now in Brooksville, Florida, which is close to us, they're actually selling the Star Wars Destiny 2-player game for $8.98.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still sitting there, and it's 43 miles away.
Now, Mr. Chip would say that those sound the alarms alone could buy that box itself. All you have to do is sell that one card, and you'd get your money back.
Everyone else is out of stock, but right now they got some in Brooksville, so that's worth the little trip to go down there.
Yeah, I did the trip. My daughter was doing a college visit. The joys of parenting. But we were in town, and I saw that town had a $15 set, and I'm like, well, I already have 2, but this would be really good to have for the classroom to just get out to play, so I don't have to worry about my set being destroyed by these hooligans, that kind of thing. But to have a class set kind of thing.
That's why I want to get another 2-player set. I mean, I have some for my own collection, and Kevin bought one for him, but I need to start carrying one for me. That way I could just have it with me at all times, and it doesn't take up a lot of room, and just have it ready.
Yeah, you can just get a double deck box and it all fits inside.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, and those decks are very even. At least when I played them as a 1-die version, I don't know. Whenever I played my son, it didn't matter what deck he had; he would just win. But the villain deck always seemed a little bit stronger to me if you keep the original point values, when you double them up or something. But
Right.
what do I know? R2P2 went and destroyed the universe after a while. So
That it did. I think that's pretty much it. I think we can sit and talk forever, but
So is there anything else that we really, really want to hit on, or?
well, and to me, it's very strong to see hashtag rally aid and all these other things online, and this online community. I think it's the one thing. And I think Sir Christopher said that too. It's sometimes the one positive thing in his life that he can go to and say, like, hey, these people have my back. I've really loved the online community, and I'm loving how it's exploding, like Jackalman's podcast and everything else. You're part of that. But in terms of just how do we translate that energy from the internet and online? And I love how active Facebook is. Like, Gen Con stuff just opened up this Sunday for events, and let me tell you, that place is exploding with like, hey, Star Wars Destiny events, who's hosting this, is there a GQ? All those questions are instantly coming out, and yet when you look at your local scene, it's like, well, are 4 or 5 people going to show up to play or not? And it's hard to get that connection because you have this thriving online community, and how do you translate that into a local play, local focus? And I don't know the easy answer. I don't think anyone does. Otherwise, we'd already have done it, right? But that's the hardest part of this. And I think that's the trap too, is that realizing and looking at things and going, hey, we have 13,000 people. That's in the world, right? For Facebook. That's the planet.
and see, that's where there's only so much we can do as content creators. Players. Now the next is FFG, and at least now they know there's a need for it, so now maybe they'll build something for it,
and maybe they never even thought this need existed in an LCG model versus a CCG model.
I don't think they did. I think this was supposed to be super casual, and they saw it was competitive, so of course they did regionals and they did the GQ, and I think depending on the results of how many people are going to be at Worlds and how well that goes, I think they'll bring it to the next step. I do.
Well,
I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, they're going to just get money hand over fist, just raking it in. I mean, there's definitely people that are wanting to dump money in this.
And that was Tiny's thing on that too. Tiny Grimes, he said his pattern that he's seen from FFG in the past, and I hope it's broken, and so does he, is that when do they stop caring about the money for this game and worrying more about the money for the next one? And I think the biggest thing that you mentioned that comes to my mind is the GQs. I got to say, when they announced the Galactic Qualifiers, I was stoked, right? Like, I wanted to go.
Yeah.
I saw those spot glass. My son's a huge Mace Windu, sadly isn't played, tournament play that much.
Right.
But that Mace Windu, the Emperor Palpatine, oh my goodness, they looked amazing. I loved the Thrawn playmat. I saw that and I was just like, I have to have that. But then I looked at the Galactic Qualifiers and there's none. Nowhere near me.
Yeah.
The one I could go to, 3 hours away.
Transfer. That's all.
Well, after 13 years, I mean, especially in education, trying to get a job that pays, relatively the same.
Yes, it's going to be tough.
It's real tough. But I'm actually really well situated. I'm 3 hours away from Chicago, which has pastimes. If you know anything about them, they are huge in terms of gaming. They're phenomenal. They actually run the Magic the Gathering stuff at Gen Con every year. So if that doesn't tell you, like, they're responsible for a big chunk of that, Gen Con, I think that says their size. I'm 3 hours from Des Moines. I'm in a very good situation. I'm just not near anything big, and that's okay. I want to support my local gaming store. I want to go to In This Issue. I want people to go out and, have this at the local level. Because I think that what we forget sometimes is, maybe the forest through the trees or vice versa, is that, the online community is huge and active. But if we don't have a local community, it's not going to continue.
Right. And we will make sure that happens as much as we can.
I'm doing all this stuff on the ground too. I will say that it hasn't borne the fruit you hope for. Like, I've gotten kids at that library the first time through. There were 6 to 8 kids, middle school age, high school age, actively playing, doing things. But I also have to realize that they're middle school and high school kids. They're not going to go out and buy 4 boxes tomorrow. And not that I would make money off of that anyway, but in terms of like keeping the game active and community active, It's just a different level of support.
Right.
And that's not my drive. I mean, I'm not a store owner. Like I said, I'm not making money off of it. I just want to see them have fun and enjoy Star Wars and connect with people and have that bonding. And I'd love to see them at tournaments and stuff. But that's not required either.
Well, thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate having you on, man. And it's so awesome to hear about somebody that is putting so much time and effort into everything at the local level. Like, I've heard people run a tournament, I've heard people build decks to teach people at their local shops, but I haven't heard of somebody who would willingly build decks to give away at libraries and teach their students. And like, I mean, you've done way more than I've heard from most people who play this game. So,
well, I'm doing my part, and you know,
Yes, you are.
well, and I think especially our local stores, they know that and they support that. But I also know that at some point, if they are not making money off of this product, they too are going to have to turn away at some point. And I don't blame them, right? Like, I don't think it's their responsibility to carry any one particular game, especially from a company that seems to have, I don't even know, I'd say conservatively 50 to 100 different games they're making right now. But I wanted to continue. I think the CCG model we've seen, although I think if you would have told 1997 me that Magic the Gathering would still be around and I'd still be playing it in 2018, right? Like I'd think you're a crazy person, because you don't think those thoughts when you're that age at all. You know, you're just going to live forever and be, 17 or whatever. But I think Star Wars Destiny has it in it for that. I think it's fun. I think I like the dice and I hate the dice. And I think that's everyone who's ever rolled dice. Please, dice gods, come with me, and then they give it and they take it away sometimes. But it's definitely got some legs, and I'm hoping it keeps up.
if you're ever in Bettendorf, Iowa, or you live near Bettendorf, Iowa, or near the Quad Cities, go to In This Issue, meet up with Joe, and you will definitely have a good time, for real. Joe is definitely a strong member in our community for Star Wars Destiny. I hope you are too. If you want to come on our show, a podcast, a tabletop simulator game, Build, Destroy, a cantina, anything at all, if you want to come and let your local shop be known, your voice be heard, please hit us up. Let us know. We'll put you on the show. You can have just a wire to a tin can connected to a computer, and we will make it work. We want people to know you exist and play this game. We want this game to live forever. We want it to be the next 25-year-old game. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to Jackalmen Games. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.
That's it. Remember to build that jank, but don't roll the blanks.
Ugh.
Oh boy.
Hey, that's a good one. Don't build the jank, right? All the stuff that doesn't make sense, that's terrible.
No, it's cut.
It's on the cutting room floor.
Hey, I tried. Now you're up next for the next one, Kev.